do you still feel like these candidates are unwise choices, divorced from the context of riots or protests or George Floyd or anything like that? Like, if you're looking at them as just candidates on their own, not in the context of this year, how do you judge them?
Yeah, if we I guess divorce that idea of, protest movement and all that. So Biden and Harris are what do you call them? They're just, it's Biden. It's all right. It's what's his name? Obama.
Wow.
It's been a few years. It's Obama 3.0.
To be fair, Obama doesn't talk much lately.
Well, except for the last few weeks, but
Yeah.
3.0. Biden is bringing the same team in that Obama had in his cabinet, and it's just going to be that. We can argue all day about whether Obama, the presidency, I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy, but we're talking about the presidency and the politics of it, whether it was good or bad. I mean, everyone knows he's an eloquent speaker. He really knows how to command an audience and command a room, and he makes you feel good. Like he's pleasant to look at, it's pleasant to watch. It makes you feel good. Biden isn't those things.
That is true.
So he's got his own style. But that being said, the policies, I think, are just going to be a continuation of what we had before. And that's kind of worrying to me.
Yeah.
Just because it's business as usual. Nothing's really going to fundamentally change. We had this really amazing movement with the progressives on Bernie's side, and how, again, so close to really making an impact. And then we had those kind of backroom deals with all the people back there, and in the Democratic side.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, and they did him dirty again, and so I have no faith in. There are people running that show, and I have no real faith in their ability to lead the country effectively,
or at least not with the public interest in mind.
Exactly. They have
effective, sure. But
they have
not
interest
effective for us.
They want to continue the endless wars. They want to.
That was a big thing. I was very critical of Obama for the entire time. Actually.
Yeah, they didn't do. I mean, in the DNC, the convention, they had nothing about the wars.
Nope.
They didn't talk. In fact, they had Colin Powell on there. This is the guy who lied to the UN about weapons of mass destruction, and you're touting him as the guy who wants Biden.
Yeah.
And you had several people like that, and I'm like, okay, this is a good chance. This is personally for me. This is a good reason for me not to agree with Biden as our candidate for the Democrats' side.
Right.
So to answer your question, no, I don't think they're a good candidate choice. Is it the will of the people? I don't know.
I would argue no.
I could make that argument as well.
From the Democratic primary, it's clearly not.
No, they had their dude. Once they realized, okay, this is the guy we can run, they went for him. So I just feel like we're being played again. We talked about this already on another previous episode, but we're just being played as a citizenry, and we're just given these two options. That being said, I'm not a fan of Trump either. I don't want people to think that Biden, Harris, they suck, so I'm gonna vote for Trump. It's that's what we were talking about in the last episode. It's why do I have these two awful choices?
Oh, and on that point, I can't take credit for this quote, because in the comments that I got and the replies and DMs that I got from that clip about not voting, I actually had a very we don't spend too much time together, but I do consider him a friend. He's a very smart dude, but he reached out to me and he was just like, so I saw this clip, and I have to say I agree with you, but he said something that I didn't even think about. He says that if you don't have the right to say no, then it's not freedom.
You mean the right to say no in terms of I don't want to vote for either?
Correct.
Right.
If you have to vote in order for the system to work, then it's not freedom.
Maybe the thing is you don't have to vote.
I mean, yeah, that was our point last time. But yeah, and to do the whole us versus, and this is the real thing that I think sets off a red flag in my head, is breaking it down to an us versus them mentality. right? At the end of the day, whether or not you agree with them, whether or not you think that they have their own best interest in mind or that they care about you, yada, 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 unless you're willing to take up arms against people that politically disagree with you, you have to live with these people. You have to find a way to make that work because that's society, right?
Yeah.
And so constantly reinforcing in your mind this framework of I am anti this one candidate, and that means I have to do everything in my power to stop this candidate and anyone who would support him or just not support me, like to the point to where, you know, coming after people that are even kind of like said, are saying what you're saying. Because I know a lot of people will definitely translate you being critical of Biden and Kamala.
It's the wrong time to be critical of them.
Right.
Because they're the saviors.
Right.
Because there's this narrative now that Trump is, you know, this fascist dictator who is going to destroy democracy as we know it.
Which we can get into that.
You have to accept that framework in order to
get to that point.
In order to be there.
And that's a framework that I don't accept.
I despise the administration. I despise some of the things that they do, but I am not there. I don't think that at all.